Hi, it's Oplin Martin here, and today I'll be showing you the exact mindset shift that you need so you can finally start hiring again. If you're a practice owner struggling to hire, it's likely because of your hiring process, whether that be through outdated interviews, unstructured screening processes, or reliance on Indeed ads. If this is one of you though, don't worry, there's actually a simple way around this. It all comes from your mindset. Your mindset is the leading driver for your practice's hiring success, and it is exactly what we'll be fixing today. But first, I want to introduce myself. My name is Oliver Martin. I'm a recruiter who helps practice owners hire PTs, OTs, and SLPs across the country. And my number one goal with this channel is to provide real human-like value that actually works. That's a quick intro out of the way. I'm really looking forward to this one. Let's get into it. So you're probably wondering, what is this mindset shift that you need so you can finally start hiring again over at your practice? Well, it's simple. You're a practice owner, so you have patience. That's how you make your money. But hiring is no different. And you're probably wondering, what do I mean by this? Well, to acquire patients, you have a funnel. You have a sales funnel, you have a marketing funnel, you have campaigns, you have systems in place, and hiring is no different. If you want to acquire top talent, then you're going to have to do the exact same thing. You're going to have funnels in place. You're going to have systems in place, processes in place to follow, so they can become in your system just as patients come into your system, right? And the way to do this is through a funnel. So you have a marketing funnel and you have a hiring funnel. You need to view hiring as you would with acquiring patients. That is the point I'm making here. To acquire patients, you need to sell the opportunity of your practice. You need to sell the values, the traits, the skills that you are going to be able to sell and put into their treatment so they ultimately leave as a happy client/patient. But hiring is a little bit different. But it's the same idea. You're going to have your traits, values, skills specific for your clinic, your practice, and you are selling that to the candidate. You're selling the opportunity, right? I'm going to dive deeper onto this on my computer and show you exactly what I mean by this. But that is the premise of this video. You need to view hiring as you would with marketing patients. To acquire patients, you need to sell the opportunity through a funnel, through marketing campaigns, through systems, through constant relentlessness. But you have to do the same with hiring as well. And hiring is not just a job ad. Hiring is much more than that, just as acquiring patients is much more. So that is what we're going to discuss in today's video. That is the mindset shift you need to install. I'm going to emphasize exactly how to install this so you can tangibly put, processes and action into place so you can really emphasize and live out this mindset shift so you can finally start hiring again over at your practice. Let me get into it. I'm really looking forward to this one. Let me hop onto the computer. So I'm on the computer now. I'm on Miro. I'm going to show you exactly what I mean by this and why you need to install this philosophy in your mindset over your practice so you can get back to hiring again, right? So as you can see here, I have a marketing funnel. It's just text right now, nothing crazy, no visuals or diagrams right now. But this is what you have for your practice. Every practice has one, regardless of whether they're good or bad. Every practice has a marketing funnel. Most likely you might have multiple different streams of funnels, but you have a funnel because you don't have patients coming in without some sort of stages to get them to that point. It's just the laws of human nature, right? So I'm going to draw out some examples here, right? You've got referrals. So this would be, doctor referrals. Don't mind, I'm just going to go quickly here. So this might be one funnel. You've got social media. That's a more modern day funnel. I would recommend having that. And just one second, hold on. I'm going to show you the exact relevance of what I'm talking about here. So you got referrals, you got social media, you've got paid ads, and it just keeps going, right? You can just keep going, right? So you're probably wondering, yeah, well, these are channels, and they are channels, but each of these channels have their own funnel. So each channel has their own steps. So referrals, you're gonna, for example, probably if depending on how it goes with your your doctors and stuff, your physicians, you would probably need some sort of nurturing, keeping good connection with them, maybe mail, regular communication, that kind of stuff. And then they may have some sort of note they have to fill out, and it keeps going. But my point is there's stages. And each stage, as you know, social media, so maybe it's, post, and then it's, I don't know, link, and then it's, you know, scheduling page or call page, or you can just keep going. But that is the point, right? So you have these funnels in these different channels, and each channel has their own funnel, and this is how patient acquisition works. This is the bread and butter of how you are actually making money and maintaining your, you know, growth as a practice owner, right? This is how you're growing the clinic. You have a marketing funnel. But this is where most practice owners stop. They have the marketing funnel, and then there's just hiring. So hiring might just be, for them, it's not the same thing, right? For them, it's, you know, put up an Indeed ad, and then it may be a few messages, and then that's kind of where it stops, because after that, there's not really much you can do, right? Well, you're wrong, and I'm going to show you exactly what I mean. So that is how it works for most practices. That is about 97% of practice owners across the country. You have a marketing funnel, you have all these channels, and then hiring is just its own little side gig. Well, you also have a hiring funnel, and if you couldn't see it beforehand, you have a hiring funnel, and you're not even aware of it, but you have a hiring funnel. And this is how you have to see hiring. This is how you have to see hiring. You got to stop separating them. You got to stop eliminating this thing as a whole, like this. You got to actually embrace it and really look at hiring through the exact same way as you would with patient acquisition. Talent acquisition is just as important. You need a team at your practice. There's no other way to grow. So this is how you do it. Just as you're hiring, just as your marketing funnel, your hiring funnel has channels. So this could be job ads, which is what you're probably used to. This could be your careers page. This could be through the schooling, so new grads and, like, you know, mentorships, that kind of jazz, and internships. You could have paid ads, like slash, you know, job ads, but these are more specific to like Facebook and like Google ads, right? And yeah, you have outreach. So you have all these different types of channels to help you in your hiring funnel as well. And you're probably aware of most of these, but you're not aware of what they're like as marketing funnels. You don't even think to compare them to marketing funnels, because that's not the way you've been thinking. But I'm trying to transform the way you think about hiring here, so you can ultimately have the clarity you need to take action to finally get back to hiring. So your job with marketing is to master these channels, or at least the main channels that work for your practice. You don't need to master all of them. That's the beauty of, like, you know, business growth. You don't need to master each channel. You just need something that works, a proof of concept, and then you can outsource it, you can scale it, and keep, you know, acquiring new customers slash clients slash patients, whatever industry you're in, from there. But now with the hiring funnel, your job is to do the exact same thing. You're supposed to choose some channels, maybe one, maybe two, maybe three, four, whatever, depending on how big your practice is, how ambitious you are, and, you know, how much you're willing to invest. And you're going to master each channel's funnel. So let's say you choose job ads, new grads, and outreach. Each of these channels are going to have stages of the funnel. They're going to each have their own funnel, right? So it's going to go from 1 to, let's say, step maybe 10 is the point where you have the offer letter signed. You're going to have funnels in each of these channels, and your job is to master each funnel, right? So let's say outreach. We're going to go, let's say there is, I'm just going to guess here, but let's say there are 6 stages of outreach. Let's say you have the initial. So this is where you initially reach out to them. Let's say on Instagram or Indeed, or not Indeed, LinkedIn. So you have the initial. Let's say you have, you know, screening. So you send over a screening form for them to fill out and see if there's any like fit. And let's say then you have, you know, the job ad. I'm going to put the job ad first, actually. So you present them with the job ad. Let's say then you have interview scheduling. And then you have skills assessment scheduling, right? Let's say after that, it is job letter or offer letter, whatever you like to call it. So this is an example. This isn't entirely correct. I've just put this, this is the top of my head, but this is an example of what I'm talking about. So you have each stage that you need to master, and this is how you master hiring. It is not something that you have no control over. It is completely in the realms of possibility. You just don't think like that. And this is why I'm trying to transform, shift your brain, your mindset around hiring as a whole, because you do have the power. It's cause and effect. It's causal law. All you have to do is master each stage, pick a channel, and then find the funnel and create a funnel, and then master each stage inside the funnel. And you do this through constant iteration, testing through time, and improving after each run, right? It's that easy. Now, you may be wondering, Oliver, how exactly do I master each of these stages with testing? How am I supposed to know what works, what doesn't? How am I supposed to track stuff? And you can't look no further than KPIs and metrics. I'm sure you're familiar with this. You have marketing, KPIs and metrics. Big surprise, you have recruiting, hiring related metrics and KPIs. Few examples: interview show rate, candidate reply rate, time to fill, fill rate. You have all these different KPIs and metrics, but your job is to find each stage of the funnel and to find metrics that you can track in each stage, so you know if you're actually making improvement or not. So for example, initial could be reply rate. You're gonna have multiple per stage, but this may be more important than others. You might have open rate, and for job ads you may have completion rate, like application completion rate. You might have for job letter or job offer, like the sign, it might be like fill rate, like if it's actually getting signed or not. But it keeps going. You know the point. You're gonna have these. You can look these up easily, and it's not hard to just determine which ones are in each one. But it does become difficult when you have to worry about KPIs, right? Because KPIs are key performance indicators, and these are essentially the metrics that are within your kind of standards. So for example, let's say you're trying to test in your initial first stage of the funnel for the outreach channel. Your KPI may be a 20% reply rate. I'm not saying that's good or bad. This is just an example. And you want to stay within KPI. So you want to be hitting at least a minimum of the 20% for, let's say, every 100 DMs you send. You want to be getting at least 20 replies, so you're at least within KPI. You ultimately want to be above KPI, because who wants to be below it or just on par with it? You want to be ultimately above it, because that means better performance. But you want to always be above it, like within the range of it or above it, right? So that is what a KPI is. You're going to define these for each stage, and if you don't know what each one is, you can go online if you don't have it yet. Very common if you don't already know, because this might be the first time you're even aware of this. But what you're going to do is you're going to go online and you're going to search up exactly how each stage's KPI is within your situation. So for example, if you have an interview and you're like the show rate for interviews, that means if the candidate's actually showing up to the interviews or not. You can look it up. You can search up practices in Houston, or practices in Texas, or practices in Florida, or practices in Delaware, and wherever you are, and you can just search up, interview show rate average, or give me a pessimistic average, or you can start pessimistics as well, just so you can keep kind of growing up and you have some sort of proof of concept there. But your goal starting out, if you don't have a KPI, is to have the proof of concept. You're trying to generate a proof of concept, and this is basically the numbers that you are hitting. What does it look like your average is when you test your current system out? Like, what is what's going on? Like, what numbers are you hitting typically on average? Like, how is it turning out for you? What are the averages? You need to find the proof of concept, because once you find the proof of concept, you can basically use this as your KPI. And you can leverage this KPI for testing. So for example, if you've ran a few tests on different, copy for different outreach messages, openers, you can say, well, I have a 15% reply rate. That is my proof of concept. That is around the typical reply rate I'm getting. So after I start this new test, if I'm not within that, then I know to cancel it. But if I'm hitting higher than that, then, or on par with it, I know to either keep it or continue testing with it, or, move on with it in the future if it's, hidden really above KPI, which it would be 15% in that example. So that is it. I mean, this is the way you need to be thinking. This is the way you need to be thinking about hiring. You have a marketing funnel and you have a recruiting funnel. You need to stop thinking like this doesn't exist and only this exists, and you need to start thinking like they both exist. Because once you think like that, hiring becomes predictable, it becomes systemized, it becomes a process of linear chained actions that you can take that ultimately manifest realities and metrics and performances and results that you can have some predictability around. So it's no longer a out of control thing, a side quest, a hope and pray. It turns into a real, tangible, predictable, systemized process, just like how you acquire patients. That is today's video. I hope this blew your mind, or at least completely transformed your paradigm around hiring as a whole, so you can put these systems, build these systems in place, and finally get back to hiring again. There is a funnel down below. I'm trying to sell you something. I'm going to hire for you guys your practice in 60 days, or you don't pay. It is a shameless plug, but that is what we do. You can ditch this whole, funnels, testing, systems, all that jazz that you probably don't have the time to be doing, because let's be real here. You have some patients to treat. You have a practice to run. We do this all on your behalf. We handle the entire process with a 60-day free replacement guarantee, just in case they left. We don't actually ever have to do that, but we like to put it in there for security purposes, FYI. But yeah, if you want to finally get back to hiring again with the whole process taken care of on your behalf in 60 days, the link is in the description below. But yeah, if you want to have that growth, that freedom, all that jazz you want as a practice owner, that is the way to do it, to streamline the hiring process, outsource it, get it done and over with, so you can do what you want most, which is treating. That is what you love most, so you can continue doing that, right? So that is today's video. I hope you, like, subscribe, comment down below, all that good stuff. It's been a great video. This is probably my most informative, helpful video that I think I've made personally, that I think can make the biggest impact on you as a practice owner. But yeah, I hope to see you in the next video. I really appreciate you watching this, and I will see you next time. I hope you take a lot from this video, and I will see you in a week's time. Thank you so much, and have a good day.